If you're trying to get the prefab ID of a prefab in the node graph, right now there are no nodes in the node graph that can get you a prefab ID off an entity. And so if you want to dynamically spawn prefabs where you don't know what the prefab is because it might happen in real time, then you're probably going to get stuck and you're not going to know what to do. However, I did find a way to kind of work around this. And for that, of course, we need a prefab. So our hilichurl here, if you right click on him, you can actually save it as a prefab, which I already did. Now, if you look at the prefab, you'll see that he has a prefab ID. And what's nice about this is you can save the prefab ID as a custom variable. So you can see here that I save a variable called prefab ID with the type set as prefab ID, and I pasted in the value here. And so now what you can do is you can access this variable inside the node graph and create or manage your prefabs however you want in the node graph. So let's go take a look at an example here. So in this node graph that I have here, I have a when entity is destroyed node. Now I chose this node specifically because many people might think that since the entity is destroyed, then you can no longer access its values, which is true to an extent, since the entity is destroyed and all of its components destroy with it. However, the when entity is destroyed node actually gives us a custom variable component snapshot that saves all the values of all the variables right as they get killed. And so in this case, I just created a little small example. I used the custom variable component snapshot, I queried it, and I put in the prefab ID, which is the name of the variable. And then using this variable value, I plugged it into the prefab ID of the create prefab node. And of course, you can set the value type to prefab ID here. This top portion is irrelevant. It's just a little debugging that I was doing. I could actually delete this. And so this is basically it right here. And so I create the prefab at the location and orientation that the initial entity gets destroyed at. And so if we just go ahead and preview this in action, now we can't actually put this on the hilichurl because the hilichurl is the one that's going to get destroyed. And since it gets destroyed, it's not going to have the node graph on it anymore that tells it to spawn another prefab. Instead, we need to put it on the entity, the stage entity that will actually listen for the when entity is destroyed event. So you see here that I have the get prefab ID right here. And if we just test play this, you'll see that when I kill this hilichurl, another one spawns right in its place. And it's able to do that because it's getting the prefab ID of this hilichurl specifically and spawning another copy in its place.